All right. Well, thanks for joining us. This is going to be just a fun conversation just about some of the issues and challenges that come with working from home. I know a lot of us are getting used to this for the first time. And so we just wanted to spend a little time just talking about how to create some balance as you begin working from home and doing that well. So I've got two folks here, Dennis and Lauren. I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in just a second, who are just going to share a little bit about their own family, their own stories, and they've both been working from home for a lot longer than I have. So hopefully they're going to share some insights that are going to help me and help you as you're kind of making this transition into working from home. So Dennis, I'll let you go first. You want to introduce kind of your family, where you work, what you do for work, and how long you've been going through this process of kind of working from home.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, Dennis Brooks. My wife Lori and I, we have 6 children, 3 of which are still in the home. I've been working from home for about 4 years now, and this is actually my second stint of working from home. About 15 years or so ago, I did it for a couple of years, learned a lot of lessons then, so that when I started working from home again about 4 years ago, used those lessons and have learned some more. But my company has an online training program for healthcare workers. So it lends itself for all of us actually in the company to work from home.
Nice. Cool. Lauren?
So I'm Lauren Charles, and I have 4 kids. One of them is a senior in high school, and so she's newly home from school because she goes to private school, so she's back with us now. And then we have 2 little boys, a 3 and a 5-year-old, and they homeschool. Well, the 5-year-old homeschools, the 3-year-old just distracts us. And so they are normally home with us. And then we had a baby a month ago, so that one's new as well, little girl. And then my husband has come home to work from home for this is his 3rd week working from home with the coronavirus. And I've been working from home. This is my 8th year working from home. And then I also travel. So obviously right now I'm just working from home, but usually I travel averages about once or twice a month.
Yeah, that's cool. And what do you do? Lauren?
Oh, yeah. So I work for an organization called Christian Veterinary Mission, and I served in Bolivia. That's where I adopted our daughter as a veterinary missionary. So we were helping people who didn't have animal care and working in the universities and just doing ministry there in Spanish. And then I came back to get married and became the Southeast region rep. So I cover the U.S. now here from Kentucky. And so I travel around to different states and serve veterinarians and veterinary students and just help them share Christ's love through their work and encourage them. So tonight we have a call with them trying to encourage them because a lot of them are struggling right now because they're essential employees. And so they're on the front lines kind of with people's pets.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So 2 very different worlds. As you guys know me, I'm obviously on staff as the director of foster care and adoption at Southeast. But this has been my little home away from home, my little basement corner. You can't see all the junk on the other side of the basement walls that I've strategically hidden for about 2 weeks now, just working from home and kind of working on projects from here, which has just been a change for me. I don't think I was ever in my office that much, but I miss it a little bit now. So I think we're going to get into some tips and strategies and kind of how you guys have built routines and different stuff in just a minute. But I think it's helpful just to start with, like, what has been rewarding for you guys in kind of having this opportunity to work from home and being able to do this? Like, what has worked well for you as you are working from home with the jobs and the styles that you have? So I'm going to let Lauren go first this time. Lauren, what do you think?
So definitely the flexibility is the most rewarding part for me. And that's probably what most people who work from home would say. So I can homeschool our kids and I can coach my daughter's sports teams. So I've been able to just leave early because if you have a 9-to-5 job, you're pretty strict. Even if you have pretty flexible hours at your office, you still can't necessarily coach a sports team that starts at 3:00 in the afternoon or something. Yeah. So working from home usually allows you to work whatever hours you want. And so it really helps me to be able to cook dinner. And it's a little bit of a burden because I am constantly on my phone. And so my family, I think, has kind of come to allow that because they recognize the benefits of it. And so they appreciate that I'm able to be around so much that they give me a little bit of grace to be on my phone too often, probably the rest of the time.
Sure. Dennis?
Absolutely, the flexibility. Before the pandemic, it was about maybe 3 months ago. There was a circus in town, and we had been given some tickets, and so I was able to take a couple of hours, go to the circus, come back. In the corporate world, working in the office, I would have had to have either had taken paid time off, or it would have been a lot more bureaucratic to just slip away for 2 hours and come back. When you work from home, I went to the circus, came back, kept working, and nobody was any of the wiser. So yeah, that schedule flexibility is really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I told Kelly today, this is probably the first day I've actually kind of missed my office a little bit. I just kind of hit that afternoon lull where I'd kind of gotten everything done a little faster than I thought. And I was like, man, this is normally when I just get up and go wander around and bother other people. So I went upstairs and bothered my family instead, which was probably a healthy thing for all of us to get that opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some advantages to it in that way. So I think that's, there's a reward to the opportunity to be here and trying to look at it that way as well as like, this is a time that I won't get back and I won't get in the way that I have it right now. So trying to take advantage of it while I can. I think, for me, the big question that I have for other folks that are working from home is just, how do you figure it out? Like, what are the tips? What are the strategies? Like, what has worked for you? Especially you guys have both been doing it for a long time. So I know you've created probably some patterns, some routines, some styles, some even technology that's probably helped you a little bit through that. So you guys want to share a little bit of just what are some things that you do that make it effective time, that kind of keep you on track, that help you get things done and still have that flexibility and that contact with your family. So Dennis, what do you think? What are some things that have helped you?
Two things really come to mind. One is a designated office, right? A place. It doesn't have to necessarily be a room. I mean, you might be able to tell from what's around me, I'm kind of in a storage closet, but it's my dedicated work storage closet. So I know when I come here, and my family knows. That's probably more important than for me. My kids know when I'm in the storage closet, I'm in the office, then daddy's at work, right? And you need to leave daddy alone and let daddy work. So having that separate designated spot, and again, if it can be a separate room, that's ideal. But if it can, at least it's just your place. You mentioned you're in a corner of the basement, but okay, that is now your office. And when you're there, that's when it's time that you're working. All right. The other thing that I would say is to establish a routine. We talked, Lauren and I both talked about schedule flexibility, and that's true, but you can't take that to the point where, well, I'll just wake up whenever I decide to wake up, and whenever I decide to start to go to work, that was a mistake I made the first time I worked from home many years ago, and that didn't work out well. So I have a routine. I have a set time where I want to be up, showered, shaved, dressed, ready to go and start to work. Now, that's not a rigid time. There is some flexibility there, but mentally I'm like, okay, I need to have this routine that every morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to get ready and I'm going to go to work. And those two things in particular have really helped me stay on task.
Nice. Lauren, what do you think? What's worked well for you?
Well, I think it's interesting. I don't fit a lot of the molds, so I work from my bedroom, which is like a big no-no because you're not supposed to be able to sleep as well if you're taking your computer into the bedroom, right? But I work from my bedroom, and I used to work from a desk, but when I was pregnant, like 5 years ago, I just started getting so uncomfortable at 8 or 9 months that I just moved to the bed. And so now this is behind my bed. I'm in my bed right now and I'm reclined, and it works well for me still because like I've usually got a baby with me and I just bring her in and out of the bassinet and I can nurse her and I can just work with the computer in my lap. So I don't abide by the room rules very well. And a lot of times when I'm working from my phone, I'm working from wherever. So sometimes I'll take my computer downstairs and homeschool the boys. So I've got them doing a workbook or doing an activity and I'm answering an email. So I don't do that one very well, but my philosophy that has kind of come to work for me really well is pockets of time. And so when I train new staff that are doing this, I say work in the pockets, and especially if they have kids, work in the pockets. So before your kids wake up, after they go to bed, if you, especially if your spouse is doing something else that night, take advantage of that pocket. I hate to say work after the kids go to bed every night, because you need some time with your spouse too. And you probably got a lot of chores to do, to clean up the house too, clean up the kitchen. But if you can, and they're busy, then that's a great time. And then like if we give our kids like an hour to 2 hours of screen time a day. So that's a pocket that I always use. And if the kids are on the trampoline or in the bounce house, like you said, then that's a time when you can be looking at your phone, because I don't want to be looking at my phone when I'm trying to engage with them. I want to be engaging with them and looking them in the eyes. So pockets of time really works for me. Sometimes it's a Sunday afternoon when everybody's taking a nap, and if I'm not tired, then I try and answer some emails. So it kind of works for me to use those pockets that are available so that I can be available to my family more. Because I am also the sole caregiver for them usually during the day, when my husband's usually at work. Now he's home too, but he has more of a scheduled time. I think that kind of makes a difference too if you're on salary or if you're working hourly. Because for me, I just have to get my work done, really. So I don't need to clock in and clock out like he does. So that does make a difference in your working. And then for a lot of people, I think it does make a difference about getting dressed. Like you mentioned, Dennis taking a shower and shaving. I saw a meme that said, flannel feels like failure by day 3. So like change out of your pajamas. And I sent it to John, and he's been changing out of his pajamas, and it's really helped him.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes I can just work in my pajamas. I've been doing it so long that I'm okay. But I think that one does help a lot of people. But for me, it's just the pockets of time. And then a routine, like you said, Dennis. I don't have an exact schedule, but I do have my mom come over to help a couple days, about 4 days a week usually. And I know when she's coming. So I can keep up on emails on my phone, but there are a lot of things that you can't do on your phone, like Excel sheets or Word docs, things that come through as attachments. You need some time to go and get on your computer. So I know when she's coming, and I schedule that time to make phone calls and do all the things. So you really need to be good at time management. I think that's the biggest thing. One other thing, I'm taking up too much time here, but one other thing that I like is to set little goals. Like there's a thing called the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 50 minutes and then you take a 10-minute break. And I don't do it that specifically, but I know before I go down and start dinner or thaw the chicken or whatever I need to do, I need to get this email out. I need to get this assignment done real quick. And so try and get things done before you move on to the next thing with your family, and set little goals for yourself. And then reward yourself if you need to. If you're working 9 to 5 straight, that's going to be hard. My husband's having a hard time just focusing all day in his little office, which is our nursery. And so you just need to set, and my daughter's having a hard time with classes too. So set little goals and then give yourself little rewards, whether that's 5 or 10 minutes of screen time or a snack. And that'll help you stay focused in that time when you are working.
Yeah. And if I could just add to that, Blaine, because that's really important. And now, I don't use the 50-minute. I use about 20 minutes, because that's about as long as I can go. But what I tell myself is, all right, for 20 minutes, I'm going to really bear down and do this, this, and this. But when that 20 minutes is over, I'm either going to walk outside, just walk to the mailbox and back, or I'm going to go get a cookie. Or go to cookie and then walk outside because I need the exercise, but just something to keep your mind. And the other thing to keep in mind is, if you traditionally have worked in an office, you don't sit at your desk for 8 hours when you're in that office. You're getting up, you're socializing with your coworkers, you're taking bathroom breaks, you're, going to the break room. And just because you've moved into the home, that you don't need to feel like you have to sit at that desk for 8 hours, right? You still need mentally, physically to take those breaks. So, set a timer on your phone, 20 minutes, the timer goes off. All right, I'm going to get up and just walk around, do 10 jumping jacks, do something. And that really helps keep you mentally focused.
I think there's even an app for it. You can look up, if you're having trouble time managing, there's some apps for time management. And I think there's one that tells you can probably set it for different times, but it's probably standard at 50 minutes. And it'll have like a little dancing tomato, I think, that lets you go take your break now.
Yeah.
Look for those kind of things.
I think that both of that's good. Like I have definitely found that in the last couple of weeks, I've just locked in for way too long. Yeah. And like, I never do that at work, but it's also because my meetings are on my laptop. My work is on my laptop. Like it's all there now because most of my meetings now are Zoom meetings. And then when I get out of a Zoom meeting, I'm on my laptop doing emails and working on Word documents and doing stuff. And then I'm back in another meeting. Whereas before I was leaving my office, going to a meeting, sitting, talking with people away from my screen. And so the other day I was trying to calculate, man, how long was I in meetings today on Zoom? And then I was like, but even when I wasn't in Zoom, I was still connected to my screen on my laptop. And so it was like 7 or 8 hours straight. I was like, that's crazy. And that's why like it was just draining at the end of the day to kind of be locked in like that. So yeah, I think some of those breaks and just ways to do that is just really good. The other thing I kind of figured out after the first week or so was, especially, our whole church staff has transitioned into this, and it's put us on like, what are we doing and how does this work? And I got tapped into a lot of like extra projects that they were just trying to find some people to help coordinate them. And so I was letting my email inbox and like the urgency of phone calls and things that were getting requested like drive my time. Whereas before I'd gotten pretty good. Like I love Michael Hyatt has an ideal week that he kind of uses, that you kind of set like, here's what I would like my week to look like. And I kind of have that. I have it as the backdrop of my laptop, and that's what I want to go for. So earlier this week, I sat down and created a new version just for my at-home time that like, I would love ideally that a couple days a week I spend an hour or two where it's just prayer and reading and I'm not attached to my laptop and I'm doing things that I need to do, and not just constantly answering emails and constantly in Zoom meetings and doing that kind of stuff. So I think trying to find ways to like control your time in ways that you can control it. You can't always control every minute of it, but in ways that you can. So that's been helpful for me. So I think that the apps is a good one. Do you guys have other just kind of anything that you felt like technology wise has been helpful to you guys, as some tools and things?
I don't know about helpful, more along the lines of, let me share a couple of mistakes that I've made to maybe help others not make those.
Yeah.
So I talked about the idea of the routine, getting up, getting dressed and all that. But there's also some flexibility, right? Well, you have to be careful. So for instance, a lot of Zoom meetings, now we're doing these video calls like we're doing here. I made the mistake one time of I'm in the meeting, but I'm also comfortable, and I lean back and you can't see it. Like, oh, wait a minute, I got shorts on. I can't do that, right? So yeah, so you have to be careful that if you're comfortable, which is great, but you got business on the top and party on the bottom, you got to be aware of that so that you don't, embarrass yourself, kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. There's a way those things can fail you at times.
Right. Exactly. And then I think we talked about the idea of sharing bandwidth, right? A lot of people are discovering there is sort of a limit to the Wi-Fi bandwidth that you have in your home. And so if I'm on a Zoom call and my college son who's home from college is doing a class via Zoom, and then my girls are, taking a break from homeschool and they're jumping on Netflix to watch a show, all of a sudden, none of us are able to really view what we're trying to view because there's just not enough bandwidth. And so I have to be aware of that and coordinate that, particularly with my wife and the girls. And sometimes then even with my college son to say, all right, when are your classes? When are you going to be online? So if possible, I try to schedule some of my things around that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I think a lot of us are finding we're not only working from home now, but our spouses. And so there's that scheduling that you need to do because somebody's got to take care of these kids because they're not going to daycare or school anymore either. And so trying to work out your schedule a little bit with your spouse. And so John and I both, my husband and I, at 2:00, he was like, I've got a meeting. I was like, yeah, I've got a 2 and a 3. And Angie's going to watch the boys at 3. And, you kind of just plan. And I've got a 9:00. Can you be in charge of the kids then? And so kind of talking about your day, maybe with your spouse. And some of the times you can be with the kids, but other times you're going to need to have somebody else watching them. Like when you're on a call like this, you kind of want a little bit more privacy and a little bit more professionalism. And other times you've got the flexibility to work with the kids around. So you need to just plan that out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's taken lots of adjustments. I think, and I think it's a learning curve for a lot of us who are jumping in it now. Like I've gotten better each day at just different parts of it. You can see my pretty little artwork. I finally got tired of the ugly yellow wall behind myself, and I was like, I know I've got extra pieces of art down here somewhere. I'm gonna go hang something up just because I wanted to feel like it was a little bit more like dedicated space. So I think there's small things that you can do to kind of make yourself feel like it's more comfortable.
You can see Dennis really worked hard to spruce up his workspace too.
Yeah,
with some artwork. Did you send him some artwork, Blaine?
Yes, Dennis. I'd be happy to put some things from the Hamilton collection on loan to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're all
I mean,
different though. I mean, you got to find your own groove because each one of us, I can work in my pajamas, my husband can't. You just got to find what works for you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think my wife Kelly can work upstairs in our bedroom. We have a little desk in there, and she can work. I can't. I was like, nope, I'm going to the basement. Now it's getting warmer. It's a little bit nicer, but I have a little space heater down here because it's freezing down here. So it's not like ideal, but I know it's my space. And our basement's not totally finished, so the kids don't come down here. So it keeps a little bit of like, they know dad's in the basement, he's working. So it does still, just like Dennis, like you said, this is your closet. Like this is my space to go to work, and the kids know I'm going to work. But yeah, we've had to figure out the routine because Kelly's still working mornings. And so, I've got daddy school 3 days a week with the kids, which has been fun. And I think, again, it goes to that opportunity. Like, I think, in a couple of years, the kids are going to look back and go, oh, it's fun. I remember daddy school. Like we learned this stuff and we tried this. And, I've been teaching the kids sight words for kindergarten, and they've learned like 30 words in 2.5 weeks. And so it's kind of like, that's pretty fun. Like that makes me feel great. And it's also, I think too, I read this the other day, that the challenge for families in a lot of senses, you've been used to being family units, going away and doing different things at school and work, and then coming back and having different experiences to share and talk about. And that keeps your mind engaged. It lets you be creative. It does all that kind of stuff. And so now that challenge is when you're around each other all day long, there's nothing new to talk about. And so what are those kind of new experiences you can try and create to still have something to kind of share with the family around dinner or at dinner time? And so that's where I've been putting some of my creativity, as to like, what is some wild and crazy that the kids and I can do that's then something they can tell their mom about, because she wasn't there for it. And so those kind of things. So yeah. Anything else you guys feel passionate, you're like, man, I want to give somebody this good advice, or save them from this, showing off my bare legs, or those kind of things? I think those are all good
nursing.
tips.
There probably aren't a whole lot of moms out there who are nursing and working from home right now, but I'm doing that one. So I have to make sure the video is off when I start a Zoom call if I'm nursing.
That is a solid tip. I think that's
very, very careful with that one. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. I think it's good. Anything else, Dennis, you can think of?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's one of those things where, so you're thrown into a new environment, right? None of us, if you haven't traditionally worked from home, you didn't choose to work from home. The circumstances have just created it where you have to. So just embrace it. It is different. Hopefully soon, one day, we'll be able to get back to the normal, whatever that, may look like. But in the meantime, just embrace it. There will be ups and downs. There'll be frustrations. There will be, I'm surprised, quite frankly, that even though the kids know, hey, this is daddy's workplace, it doesn't mean they don't still come knock on the door, still open the door. Daddy. That stuff's going to happen. And believe me, with everybody working from home now, there's a whole lot more grace being given, I think, amongst people, because they've all had that happen. So you just have to kind of roll with it, and it'll be okay. It's fine.
Yeah, I would just say also make sure to be communicating with your spouse well if you're both trying to work from home, because I think there could be like a level of feeling put upon by one of them if one of them is still supposed to be taking care of the kids more than the other. So I don't want women who are just maybe more naturally the mother to feel like there may be a resentment towards their husband if they're both trying to get work done. Like you're saying, Blaine, you guys are sharing that and figuring that out. And so I would encourage couples to talk about that so that one of you isn't building up this resentment about, why am I supposed to work and take care of the kids when you just get to go hole off in your storage closet or your office?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think it becomes this kind of opportunity, right? This is the opportunity you have of like if you are a dad and you're used to being at the office, or a mom and used to being at the office, you now have this opportunity to create some bonds, some attachments, some moments. And so figuring out ways, like just like you said, Lauren, like there's definitely been some nights where I put in 2 or 3 hours at night
Mm-hmm.
to kind of finish up, because I had my task list going for the day, and because of all the Zoom meetings I was in and the emails I was responding to and the things happening, I didn't get to any of my list. So, so I still stopped at, 5 or so,
Mm-hmm.
made dinner, hung out with the kids, got them in bed. And then, 7:30, 8 o'clock I'm kind of back working for a couple more hours to knock out some stuff. Because I know the next morning I got to run daddy school for a couple hours. So it's not like I can get back to it first thing in the morning.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just finding those pockets of time. And
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think that's a good way to kind of sort it out, but still put stuff away. The other thing I will say that just a helpful like tech tip for me that's really saved me is if you didn't know, if you have, especially on an iPhone, I'm assuming Android has the same tech, you can create some auto text replies like when you're driving, and you can change what that set. So I have that set up to where I think it's on my phone now. It's off at the moment, but it's set up so that like it auto replies to people that are texting me, because so many more people, especially from our office, are now just texting questions instead of even emailing. So it auto replies, hey, I'm away from my phone right now. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And it still keeps it in unread text, and I can still come back to it later. So it's been a helpful tip for me to just be able to like put my phone away for a couple hours and not feel like I have to keep checking it and I have to look at it. And there's a couple nights where I've left it in the basement in my office area, that my phone, my laptop, my iPad, everything just kind of stayed down here, and I went upstairs. And so because that was on, I knew it was responding. And it's responding to my family too, who kind of know when they're getting that. They know that I've got my phone off, and so they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they can text urgent. They can get through if they really needed to. But I'm kind of like, you know what? Nothing's that important. I don't do anything that's life saving.
Yeah.
So it can all wait for a little while. So yeah.
I like that embrace it though, because you might go upstairs at 5 o'clock to make dinner, but you also like, sometimes I'll say to John, it's really nice out. Why don't we try and go for a walk at 4 or something? And then he'll go back and work an hour later at night, because he can also do his hours later. And so that kind of thing is embrace this flexibility while you've got it. And especially because it's spring. I mean, if you only got a couple hours of beauty outside, take advantage of it and go outside and then work later. And I do like to, I know your emails can control you, so you have to be careful not to let your phone or your laptop control you at home, because you can work anytime and you don't want to do that all the time. But I like to try and clean out my tasks or my emails at night, so that in the morning you are fresh and you can go be with your kids, or like you said, daddy school or whatever you need to do, breakfast with them, and have a little bit of, you don't have all these emails looming over you from the day before still. So I like to finish up at night if I can.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good. Well, I appreciate you guys. This was great. I hope you folks got something out of this. If you're watching this, we're going to have this released on Facebook. If you have some more questions or you just want some feedback, Dennis, Lauren, and myself kind of will watch the comments as they come in. And if there's something specific, you're like, hey, how has this worked for you? How have you figured out this thing? Man, we'd love to hear your questions, your comments, and we'll try and follow up with you as best we can as we see some of those comments. But hopefully this is encouraging to you that we're all figuring it out. It's a new normal for everybody, even those of us who've been at home for a long time are still figuring out a little bit of new normal. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Dennis and Lauren, thank you guys very much. It was helpful to me. I learned some stuff.
Thank you.
Explain. Thank you.